3 shops and a warehouse burnt to the ground. Another tertiary institution raises concerns on poor facilities. And Kari lifts a total of 355.
This is National EMTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
Good evening and thanks for joining me with Wednesday's news. 3 shops and a warehouse were burnt this morning at Chinatown in the nation's capital. Eyewitnesses told EMTV News the fire started at around 3 a.m. this morning from one of the shops, with the fire service arriving at the scene 45 minutes later. This is the second fire in Port Moresby in a time frame of 4 weeks.
This was the scene this morning at Port Moresby's famous Chinatown area. Nearby residents trying to get a glimpse of the burning buildings. The cause of the fire is unknown. However, eyewitnesses say the fire started from rooms where shop workers reside. The fire service from downtown Port Moresby arrived at the scene 45 minutes later. They tried to contain the spread of the fire, but they ran out of water. It took them another hour to refill their fire trucks and continue to combat the fires. The nearby Boroko fire service did not respond because they had no fire truck. Only downtown and Waigani fire service were at the scene.
Me receiving call from Boroko fire station, or delay call come to town fire station. So me run all the way from town fire station to East Boroko. And at the time factor, me come up any fire, me start one area so which is at the back of OK Trading. And me contain him. My men contained the fire, and then all of a sudden fire engine tank water go down. So then I have to run to refill a kilometer away from the scene of the fire. Meantime, Waigani fire truck come in there, they defense it from the back of the building.
Shop owners didn't want to say anything on camera. However, inside sources told EMTV News the damages and goods lost in the fires are worth over $1 million kina. This is the second fire in Port Moresby in a time frame of 4 weeks. Last month, similar stores like this went up in flames at Erima near the Commonwealth flyover. The question now is the effectiveness of the PNG fire service and what has been done to address these issues. A proposal to review the fire service in PNG has been submitted to NEC. Stanley Over Jr., National EMTV News.
Lay police have arrested 2 more suspects in the CHM robbery that happened on Wednesday last week. The gang raided the shop in the centre of Lay City and tried to make off with phones and electronic goods before the tyres of their getaway vehicle was shot by a security company executive. Police responded and arrested 2 of the suspects. The suspects then provided information to police, which led to the other 2 arrests. Over 5 weeks, there have been 9 armed robberies in broad daylight targeting shops that have had their premises and electronic goods. 4 families in Lay City are being threatened with a new round of evictions after a court ruling this morning. The National Housing Corporation is working on getting the families evicted from houses they've lived in for more than 20 years. This comes after a lull in eviction activity. One family is in the process of filing an appeal to the National Court.
This is the 3rd time an eviction has been attempted on John Bangui and his family who've been living at this 4th Street property in Lay City. Today, after a court decision which they claim wasn't fair, orders were issued by the court for them to evict the property.
Asset transfer about didn't take place yet. Now, how eviction come up from National Housing Corporation, me find it hard to understand.
But by this afternoon, Bangui and his family were still waiting. This is a new round of evictions or threats of evictions by the National Housing Corporation, the arm of government whose mission is to provide affordable housing to Papua New Guineans. At another property along Lay's Coronation Drive, another family is being threatened with eviction. The tenants were interviewed and later asked not to appear on TV because they were taking the matter to the National Court tomorrow. There is still confusion about the ownership of the properties. The tenants argue the properties are not owned by the National Housing Corporation but by the National Airports Corporation. For John Bangui, he paid the NHC 78,000 kina as a purchase price. To date, he has not received the receipt for that payment.
For me, like eviction exercise must stop because Prime Minister been talk finished. Not about more eviction. All sitting tenants, all public servants, all must give houses go along all.
This latest round of evictions has again brought to the fore the confusion surrounding the ownership of old government properties in urban areas. This morning, the people who were conducting the evictions got the sections and lot numbers of at least one property wrong. And tenants have also reported that buyers had already been found for the properties. Scott Waide, National MTV News, Ley.
In recent months, students from higher learning institutions in the country voiced concerns over poor facilities. This time, students at the University of Natural Resources and Environment, or campus, are expressing the same. Their plight is similar to their fellow colleague students from other institutions, that's ablution blocks and dormitories that are all run down. EMTV's Mickey Cavera visited the campus yesterday.
The students describe their life here as survival of the fittest. You don't have to look far to know the reasons why they say this. The writings are on the walls. They have no choice but shower outside and use toilet facilities not fit for humans.
Uni student, mi plus was inside lo, shower so silakai na about.
Their academic performance is also been affected with no access to updated resources.
Science-based institutions, so we need to get science laboratory, but actually science laboratory we run down no other equipment inside them, no other chemicals. Okay, no side library too. Library am all outdated book blow. 70s and 80s that's all stamps yet. No other latest or update or reference text books by inabim something you seem album lining them.
Even the librarian admits to this.
At the moment, we have a lot of out of date material for the DL library we are using. Since university took over this place, 2001 up to 2015 now, there is no funding.
All these problems reflect the lack of funding received by the university. Since becoming part of the University of Natural Resources and Environment in 2001, the Oro campus has struggled to maintain its facilities. The NEC recently announced for it to become the Eastern Papua University, but this is far from reality given its current dilemmas. This university was once the pride of Papua New Guinea and the Northern Province, and only time will tell when it will regain its status. Mickey Cavera, National MTV News.
Ley City's suburban roads have cost over 500 million kina to fix over 5 years, including the Ley Nadap Highway. Close to 1 billion kina has been spent by the government on Ley roads. Contractors are being watched by the Works Department to ensure road meets specifications. Proper drainage and footpaths are requirements. MTV's Bethany Harriman with this Ley roads update.
Within 5 years, suburban roads like the Buma Road, cemented with streetlights and footpaths, a Ley District Administration funded project. The back road past Malahang nearly completed. Today, construction workers doing the finishing touches on the road. Ley's suburban roads made to last longer, complete with footpaths, streetlights and proper runoff to allow drainage. Ley's roads has taken a whole new shape. The designs are now mainly concrete. In 2011, the government realized that it had to fix a decaying infrastructure. It started investing 100 million kina into roadworks.
Now in 2015, including the Leh-Nadzab 4-lane highway at a cost of around 500 million kina, the total cost of the rehabilitation happening in Leh is close to 1 billion kina.
These workers from a construction company building proper drainage along the boundary road section. Men working under extreme conditions, implementing a nation's dream to have proper road infrastructure.
So what now? Mibla works department like it. Mibla mas wogen mo stone pizza iguran ogatana. Preventi mosen. Rosani no can come up.
Contractors receiving millions of kina are scrutinized by the National and Provincial Works Department to ensure work done meets specifications. Each rock and soil shoveled must ensure that every penny spent from taxpayers' money gets the desired results. The spending began in 2011 when the government allocated over 100 million kina. In the last 5 years, similar amounts have been allocated in the national budget. The good roads didn't come easy. 4 years ago, poor implementation by contractors stalled the rehabilitation of the Leh roads. In 2011, there were roads in parts of the city still left uncompleted.
Also in 2011, a committee led by Chief Secretary Sir Manasupe Zurino found that there were flaws in the way contracts were awarded to contractors and the way payments were being made. Bethany Harriman, National MTV News, Leh.
The oil search baton relay tours the Trobriand Islands. That story and more coming up after the break. Stay tuned. Good to have you back with National MTV News. Early Tuesday morning in Alatau saw the Oil Search Pacific Games baton take off for the Trobriand Islands. An hour-long flight passing East Cape and over the seas as the team landed on the Isles of Love, and the baton was taken to Kaibola Primary School on Kiriwina. Hundreds of students dressed in traditional Trobriand bilas. It was a sea of red to welcome the baton.
The school's formal welcome included the elementary children creating a paddling escort for the baton, followed by older girls performing the Sago dance. Their dance followed by the senior boys creating the Urea dance that mimics the millipedes found on the island. The baton was danced to the beach before taking a short canoe ride over to the new cruise ship jetty, where it was accepted and taken back along the beach. The road relay began, winding its way around the island with a number of runners through small communities, and including the former World War II air base, which was now a collection of gardens. At Tubawara Village Primary School, students took charge of the baton on its journey around the oval. They acted out the yam harvest with frenetic dancing and whistling as they offered their yield for the yam house, and the baton found a new place to lie. Journeying on, the baton was handed to the Trobriand Paramount Chief at the village of Omarakana, surrounded by children in traditional bilas, and the community looking on. The baton was even saluted and the anthem sung perfectly at a primary school. All schools lined the road patiently, waiting for the baton and Tura the Kokomo to appear in convoy, and the baton was run down their lines with clockwork precision. The baton passed many hands throughout the day, and the traditional sing-sing of the Trobrians was always present. The All Such Baton Relay continues.
The Consultative Implementation and Monitoring Council ended its Southern Regional Development Forum in Northern Province today. Through its forum, CIMC has been providing an avenue for dialogue on national issues. The objective is to allow for transparency to prevail and to empower the people with vital information to hold their leaders accountable.
This is the final leg of the Regional Development Forum organized by the Consultative Implementation and Monitoring Council. Discussions centered around various topics of national interest such as the government policy on responsible sustainable development strategy.
Captures some of the aspirations of Vision 2050, the important ones. And then in terms of operationalizing what we, the medium-term development plan number 2, what that does is to ensure that those assets which are recognized as critical under the strategy for responsible sustainable development are treated accordingly and are given better recognition in terms of future government planning, future exploitation and future sustainability of those particular resources.
The government, through the Department of National Planning, wants to ensure that the policy is implemented. Efforts are in place to create awareness on this policy so that it resonates with the people throughout the country.
The most important aspect of this is going to be in terms of the institutional awareness. That has to be done, obviously, between Department of Planning and the various other stakeholders like your provincial governments, your districts, in terms of how they take it on board. So that institutionalization process is important. But further than that, there's a recognition that in order for this plan to work, we need personal ownership, particularly from individuals.
The policy falls in line with the theme of the CIMC Development Forum, which is successful implementation of development plans and responsible sustainable development strategy. CIMC Executive Director Wallis Yakam highlights the importance of ensuring dialogue on such important policies.
Was to facilitate an ongoing dialogue or a vehicle for dialogue between private sector, civil society and government in terms of coming up with strategies and initiatives to address issues in the development process, for example, maybe public policy development and implementation.
Northern Province Acting Administrator John Pai says the province is in the process of aligning its development plans with the RSDS.
Not just sitting down and waiting for this document to come down to us. We're also taking proactive actions in the administration to restructure the administration to be able to deliver the plans.
Mickey Cavera, National EMTV News.
In the lead up to the World Environment Day this Friday, 10 secondary schools in NCD are competing in debates and essay writing competitions. This year's World Environment Day theme is 7 billion dreams, 1 planet, consumed with care. It is a school program hosted by Steamships Trading Company Limited.
PNG is the home to distinct cultures, rich biodiversity and scenic landscapes. However, the challenges it faces are no different to other countries in regard to population expansion, destruction of ecosystems for development purposes, and the consumption of natural resources. The debates today were informative. According to the theme, 7 billion dreams, 1 planet, consumed with care, students debated to understand its meaning. The main idea is to educate the public on the effects of increasing population and the consumption patterns on the Earth's resources.
The strategic plan for better development, for further development, is to empower our people in improving the standard of living, to improve and achieve effective service delivery for our people in the communities by strengthening service delivery systems and processes.
Something about an African country that used up all their resources because they wanted more. Individually, they wanted more riches, so they used up more resources to generate more income.
The 3 main areas of concern are increasing population growth and its impacts on Earth, capability of Earth to accommodate the increasing population's needs and wants, and the increasing consumption pattern of the resources and its impacts to the environment. The debating teams highlighted the management of population growth, infrastructure development, and strengthening of human resources. Having a sustainable and conservable environment is the key to population growth and economic development. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News.
An attempt by Sumkar MP Ken Fairweather to announce a vote of no confidence motion against Madang Governor Jim Cuss was abruptly interrupted by Madang's Deputy Governor and Cuss supporters. Ken Fairweather had already left the building when protesters marched in and demanded an end to the news conference. Deputy Governor Rama Marisen instructed the media not to report on what they called rubbish. The Deputy Governor promptly took the chair where Fairweather was sitting and began rebutting Fairweather's statements. Fairweather was using the non-acquittal of funds and the failure to hold assembly meetings as grounds for a no-confidence vote. Nautilus Minerals has started implementing projects it considers community service responsibilities within the area of its Solwara 1 project. In a media briefing today, PNG Country Manager Mel Togolo highlighted several projects under development in the areas of health, education and infrastructure along the west coast of New Ireland. The media also took the opportunity to pose questions on the environmental impact of the project, which will be the first of its kind anywhere in the world.
The world's first ever seabed mining project has an operational date of 2018. As of today, several contracts have been awarded to world-renowned companies for the supply and installation of various key components that make up the production support vessel. This vessel is where the bulk of ore processing work is expected to take place. But the media event today couldn't give more insight into work that hasn't yet started. Instead, the media was briefed on the results of an executive board decision that has already seen the implementation of the Developers Community Service Responsibility Program in New Ireland.
We are not in production. We are not making any money yet. We are not making any profit yet. But what we have done, what our board has agreed to do, is to spend some of this money we have upfront. This is not tax credit scheme. Tax credit scheme only operates when you pay tax, which means you're making profit, so you pay tax. And then you apply the tax credit scheme, which most operators are doing. We have decided to spend the money now rather than wait until we make money. So that's a big difference for us in how we approach our activities on New Ireland.
Of course, it was also an opportunity to find out more of the potential environmental impacts of the project. Mr. Togolo took on media questions ranging from the projected social impacts of the project and what the company saw as a worst-case scenario.
I think one of the things that people are concerned is about the fact that we bring up the ore. Will that ore impact on the water column? And we've said that it will not impact the water column because it is a closed system, as I showed.
With only 2 years away from the start of project operations, it's clear that Nautilus is committed to its CSR program. Also clear is that right now, that's the only thing that seems to be pushing against a growing tide of social media dissent against the project and its potential impact on the Bismarck Sea. Neville Choi, National EMTV News.
And now we take a look at the finance news. The Kina closed unchanged at $0.3675 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, our Kina was trading at $0.36, $0.4603 Australian dollars, $0.3188 euro, and 42.22 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold closed the day lower, while coffee, cocoa and copper closed the day higher. Palm oil and copper closed higher, while crude oil closed the day lower. And lastly, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 29 points lower, the ASX closed at 96 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed 97 points lower as well. The police force ready to implement Operation Safe Games. That among stories after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. A multi-agency task force comprising both government and NGOs has been established to coordinate security during the Pacific Games. Codenamed Safe Games, Police Commissioner Gary Bucky says the order of operations has been completed and is ready for implementation. Pre-security operations within NCD have commenced and will lead into the July Games.
Confident Bucky assured the media today that the public safety prior to the Games and after the Games is guaranteed. A total of 2,600 police personnel will be deployed to provide security and public safety. From the total police personnel, 30 each will be joining them from other regions starting on the 15th of this month. Their sister forces, the PNGDF and Correctional Service, will deploy 300 personnel each. Commissioner Baki announced today that Chief Superintendent David Manning is the overall operations commander for the July Games. All venues and other supplementary locations within the city, like Jackson's International Airport, have their own commanders that will be in charge during the Games.
Chief Superintendent Manning has been responsible for the planning of these Games over the last couple of years, and as such, it is appropriate for me to appoint him as the overall commander for the Games.
While RPNGC chairs the Games Safety and Security Plan to support the main operation, PNGDF will be engaged in vital asset protection to ensure minimal disruption of services such as water and electricity through criminal acts. They will also provide quick reaction forces to the venues, aerial and sea platforms, as well as for ceremonial duties. The Correctional Service will be deployed to the venues and other areas in the city to ensure a high level of public safety and security. The Transport Department will engage 300 of its officers to assist in managing and controlling traffic to ensure designated routes to and from the venues are okay. And PNG Fire Service will be assisting in safety risk.
Prior to the Games and 2 weeks after the Games, just as critical, we have factored these 2 periods into our security planning as well.
Operations conducted will target known criminal hotspots, illegal liquor outlets, traffic enforcement, and illegal street vendors. Phase 2 focuses on delivering the safety operations.
The support of every man, women, and child. This is our country. This is our moment. Let us rise to the occasion. Let us give the visiting athletes, officials, friends, and visitors an experience they will remember fondly and treasure for always.
Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News.
Doctors at Anga Hospital have resumed duties whilst awaiting a 1-month assessment on their contracts and entitlements. Following the delay in union awards, doctors scaled down on duties. However, health department officers assured doctors that a response will come in a month. Last Friday, National Doctors Association, representing Anga doctors, met with the health department's HR personnel to address entitlements queries. A new act introduced by the Abbott government will see the criminalising of whistleblowing against Australia's detention centres on Manus Island and Nauru. The Australian Border Force Act 2015 creates a criminal offence punishable by imprisonment for up to 2 years for any person who speaks out against conditions at Australia's offshore refugee processing centres.
Anyone who speaks out against Australia's offshore refugee processing centres on Manus and Nauru are likely to face imprisonment once the Australian Border Force Act 2015 comes into effect next month. The law was recently passed by the Government of Australia, thus criminalising the act of whistleblowing against Australia's controversial asylum centres. The new law will make it an offence for persons working directly or indirectly with the Federal Immigration Department to disclose information about the facilities. Offenders who reveal to the media or any other organisation outside of the government and its departments and agencies of the affairs of the detention centres could face a jail term of up to 2 years. That means any worker or contractor who speaks to the media could also face prison sentences. Immigration workers will now be required to work under oath, according to the Australian Border Force Act 2015. However, the contents of the oath are not detailed in the legislation. The Australian Lawyers Alliance spokesperson on asylum seekers, Greg Barnes, told the ABC that the law will have a chilling effect on what any employee or contractor of the centres, including NGOs and doctors, can say. The Act will come into effect on the 1st of July. Sasha Pesilovo, EMTV World News.
Sepp Blatter has stunned the world of soccer by resigning as FIFA president. Blatter, at 79, announced the decision at a hastily arranged news conference in Zurich, 6 days after several high-ranking FIFA executives were arrested for alleged bribery and corruption. His resignation ends a 40-year career at the sports governing body. EMTV's Jeremy Moggy reports.
I have said I forgive, but I don't forget when it comes to persons and not to facts. And I have said also yesterday, I have been elected by 133 national associations, but I am the president of everybody. And I'm also the president.
The announcement, while not unexpected, still came as a shock to many football pundits, considering the statement was made only 4 days after his re-election as FIFA president. Observers around the world expressing varying degrees of satisfaction.
If he's stepping down, he's done the right thing. He probably shouldn't have even been voted back in as president to start with. I think it's about time that everyone's woken up to what he's been doing for the last 12 years with everything. I think it's probably the right thing that happens, yeah.
If he goes, I think a bunch of top flight FIFA members will go, and I think that cleans it up from the top as opposed to from the middle levels where you'd expect it to go from. He's definitely gone.
English FA chairman Greg Dyke said he was delighted with the resignation and called for fundamental changes within football's governing body.
FIFA needs massive reform. First of all, it needs financial reform and financial accountability, which it's never had. It needs someone to go in there and find out how much is coming in, how much is going out, and where it's being spent in great detail. Once you've done that, you need to sort out the governance of the whole sport, which is all over the place. I mean,
He also expressed reservations into the timing of Blatter's announcement.
Well, the question is, why didn't he do it before the vote last week? And then clearly something has happened between Friday. I mean, when I left the Congress on Friday night and was interviewed by ITN, I told him, look, this isn't the end of it.
Blatter, who had ruled FIFA since 1998, was left reeling this week after the announcement of top officials within the organization being arrested and investigated over fraudulent payments made prior to bids for both the 2018 and 2022 World Cups to be hosted in Russia and Qatar, respectively. Domenico Scala, head of FIFA's Independent Audit and Compliance Committee, said there would be 4 months' notice for any new presidential election. Jeremy Moggy, EMTV World News.
Trukai Sports is coming up next, and Stephen Kari lifts 6 kilos better than his Commonwealth Games record. Stay tuned for all the details.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. In weightlifting, Commonwealth gold medalist Stephen Kari is on track to take home the Pacific Games gold medal. The 22-year-old Hanawabata lad produced a sterling effort to better his 2014 Glasgow performance by 6 kilograms on Saturday. Kari, trained by Papua New Guinea's most successful coach, Douglas Mayer, at the local Hanawabata club, puts on a spectacular performance during the National Federation's staged monthly tournament at the High Performance Centre on Saturday.
What a fight! Wow, that was the most spectacular lift.
With just months to the Pacific Games, the Hanawabata club, without any PNG Olympic Committee funding, will again do PNG proud. Kari, who won the 2014 Commonwealth Games gold medal with a snatch of 149 kg and clean and jerk 200 kg to total 349 kg, raised the bar further. Kari snatched 155 kg and clean and jerk 200 kg before dropping the bar on 205 kg. His coach Douglas Mayer said he pushed Kari with the 205 kg. He missed the clean and the bar slipped on his chest. Mayer said he is happy with Stephen's progress, and with a month out from the games, you never know how far he will go. Coach Mayer also said he might have stiff competition from Samoa and the Cameroon Simplice Ribuem. If he's still confirmed to participate at the Pacific Games, he will give a worthy challenge for his adopted country, Australia. Shane Saroya, National, EMTV Sports.
Over to rugby, the Pukpuk's main focus following the announcement of the team is the on-field preparations for the Pacific Games. However, the team has been actively engaging in community service in a hope to build a following at the Games. The Puma Energy team spent today lending a helping hand to communities here in Port Moresby.
Taking a day off away from training usually involves time spent at home. However, members of the PNG Sevens team were together as a group, doing something out of the usual.
We're just helping out with the community involvement and general Pacific game awareness for the public.
Vice Captain Eugene Tokovai and Tissa Kautu lending a helping hand alongside fellow teammates. Assistant coach Douglas Geist believes that the team can be able to garner more support through these initiatives. Exciting winger Butler Morris said getting involved with the community was also an integral part of the development of the team as a whole.
Yeah, of course, yeah, the boys are training very hard. A few weeks, they push ourselves to the limit. So it's nice to relax your mind and helping out the Puma staff and officials here.
Support for the Puk-Puks has been overwhelming, with the team topping an online poll run recently by EMTV on viewer preferences for the Pacific Games. With Fiji announcing they intend to send a full-strength squad to the Games, Guy said selection into the Puk-Puks has been about getting the little things right.
We're quietly confident that we'll do well in the Games against Fiji. Well, like I said, we're not results-based at the moment. We just want to stick to what we've done over the past couple of months in our training and processes.
Head coach Billy Rapilla not mincing words, stating that fitness still needed to be worked on.
This is a big issue that we were focusing on, as we know we got up against Samoa, Tonga and Fiji, the best in the Pacific, and we know we're on home soil and a lot of expectations for the team, so it's going to be a huge challenge, but we feel we got the right combination, we picked for it, and working hard towards that too.
The team have the Armaco Sevens in a week's time and will use the tournament as a final lead-up to the Pacific Games. Lorraine Genia, National, EMTV Sports.
Team Australia to the Pacific Games is enthusiastically counting down the days to their debut appearance in what will be the first step taken towards an expanded continental games. Both Australia and New Zealand will participate in rugby sevens, sailing, taekwondo and weightlifting.
With the opening ceremony only 4 weeks away, Australia's chef de mission Malcolm Page says that Australia is excited about taking their first step towards being a permanent part of the Pacific Games. Page believes that in the long term the move makes sense and said that Australia and New Zealand are in the Pacific and shared love for the region, saying that it was great for them to be part of the Games. He added that competition was going to be tough, with Pacific athletes being some of the best in the 4 sports to be contested. He says that he expected this year's Games to be taken to a whole new level by PNG. Having been in the country a few months back, he said the atmosphere and culture of Papua New Guinea was really shining through. And he was adamant that the 2015 Pacific Games would be an impressive event for the Pacific. Sasha Pesilovo, National EMTV Sports.
With less than a month away from the Games, the Port Moresby Racket Club and the Caritas Technical Secondary School venue packages are 80% sold out. The Racket Club will host tennis, table tennis and squash, while bodybuilding and boxing at Caritas. Meanwhile, shooting is 90% sold out. Now, shooting is relatively unknown in Papua New Guinea, and this upsurge in ticket sales can only argue well for the future of the sport. Games Organising Committee CEO Peter Stewart commended those who have bought tickets and has assured them of an experience that they would never forget. Well, True Guy Sports continues after the break with Rugby League. I'll be back with all the details. Stay tuned.
True Guy Sports.
Welcome back to True Guy Sports, and in Rugby League, the Hunters see the return of utility Sebastian Pandya and Brandy Peter, who have been named on the bench for this Sunday's clash against the Ipswich Jets. Their return is sure to back the Hunters lineup with the absence of Ate Bina, who is on a 2-match suspension for a Grade 2 dangerous tackle. Coach Michael Marum retains the winning lineup against Townsville Blackhawks.
The Hunters bench sees the return of Sebastian Pandya and Brandy Peter in this Sunday's clash against Ipswich Jets in Kokopo. The return of Pandya and Peter on the bench is sure to provide the momentum to drive the utility pack alongside Willie Monoga and Timothy Lomai. With Atebina out on a 2-match suspension endured in round 10, coach Michael Marum is retaining much of his lineup from the toppling clash against competition leaders Townsville Blackhawks. Stargath Amin, Blanda Bavu and Noel Zemming have been locked in for the starting 13. Among the key areas the Hunters will focus on this week are self-belief and basic components of completing the sets and lifting their defense to produce satisfying results. With the mandatory 2 points from a bye last weekend, the Hunters now sit at 4th place on the Intra Super Cup ladder. Scholar Sengi, National, EMTV Sports.
And that wraps up True Kai Sports tonight. I'll be back with the weather details for the next 24 hours. Stay tuned for that.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
A quick look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in southern region. Chances of brief late-night showers expected in Port Moresby. In Momase, mostly fine expected in Wewak, Fanimore and Madang. In the New Guinea Islands, fine, mostly sunny tomorrow in Moringa. And lastly, in the Highlands region, all centres partly cloudy, then morning fog. A recap of our top stories again tonight before we go. 3 shops and a warehouse burnt to the ground. Also, another tertiary institution raises concerns on poor facilities. And Stephen Kari lifts a total of 355, 6 kilos better than his Commonwealth record. Well, that wraps up the bulletin tonight from the news team. I'm Tokana Hasavi. As always, thanks for your company. You take care and stay safe. Good night.